Oh boy, and welcome back to another episode of The Amazing City. I will not repeat what was said before we started recording, but we're here. Episode 48. It's Jack Ramsey.
47.
47.
47.
I am so sorry. So sorry.
It's the Jesse Orozco
It's a
episode,
Jesse Roscoe episode. Episode
not the
47.
Tom Glavine episode.
We don't know. Nope, absolutely not.
He actually ended his
Negative,
career as an Atlanta Brave.
as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it's Jack Ramsey, Antonio Slater. It is Friday, October 7th, otherwise known as Game 1, Day 1 of the 2022 MLB postseason. The Mets and Padres start the National League Wildcard Series in Citi Field. I will be there. I am so excitedly nervous. I am nervously excited. I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of emotions, but a lot of it just leads to excitement.
Did
It's
you
Max
see?
Scherzer versus Yu Darvish.
Oh yeah, and then even just think about tomorrow. Likelihood it's DeGrom and Snell.
Are you just chalking up a loss?
I still don't think they go down that route. We can get into that. We're gonna get into that. That's probably the topic of this episode.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good
DeGrom.
chunk of this episode here. The conversation of Buck going with Scherzer game 1, kind of leaving up in the air for game 2. Will it be Bassett? Will it be DeGrom? Will it be DeGrom if the Mets lose? Will it go Bassett if the Mets win? What'll happen?
I will say one thing.
Decisions happen for sure. Yeah.
I will say one thing. It's like quickly touching on the DeGrom Bassett thing. You read through a lot of things online because there's a little bit of debate. Are you going Snell, Musgrove for game 2?
Mm-hmm.
Both fan bases are overlooking the other team.
Yeah.
Mets fans are ready for LA.
Padres
fans are ready for LA because the storylines for both of those are nuts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you can win 161 games for all I care. But if you can't beat the Padres in the playoffs, I mean, I forget who said it yesterday, but someone said it best. If this Dodgers team runs the table, you're looking at 27 Yankees.
Yeah.
Or 27 Yankees, 98 Yankees, 22 Dodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, 110 plus wins.
Oh, yeah.
They won 110, right?
111.
110 plus wins, run the table, dominance from April 1st to November 1st.
Yeah. No,
does not happen. That is a multi-generational team.
You're looking at one of the best teams
in baseball history.
Some of those
70s
Reds, the Mariners, if you want to, but they didn't win the damn thing. It's kind of like the Warriors from a few years ago. 73 don't mean a thing without a ring.
Exactly.
So,
when you think
the same record besides the Guardians, of course, they're 1-0.
Well, when you think of the early 2010 Giants, those teams,
yeah,
you think when you would the year they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and the Patriots were 18-0 going in, was that 2010?
That was the first one. That was 2007. Yeah.
When you think about 2007, well, when you think about 2007, do you think about an 18-1 Patriots team, or are you thinking about the Giants team that won the Super Bowl?
Right.
This year does not mean shit for the Mets, the Braves, the Astros, the Dodgers, the Yankees. Have these great seasons all you want. Doesn't mean a thing if you can't get it done.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Right now, and like I said before, coming into today, doesn't matter if you have 100 wins, 87 wins. It doesn't matter how many wins took to win the division. Everyone started today 0-0.
I mean, look at 2015.
Aaron Judge has 0 home runs. Pete Alonso, 0 RBIs. Scherzer, 0 strikeouts. It doesn't matter. It's a brand new season.
Batting average is 0-0.
It's 0-0. It's a flat 0.
I think you look at 2015 Mets. They went into that playoff with the worst record in the National League of any playoff team.
Right.
I believe every team in the American League had a better record than them.
Probably.
Or at least pushing it. I don't know if those I forget who the AL. I'm sure the Orioles or the Blue Jays, whoever wild card team that year. Blue Jays won the East, Astros and Yankees.
Yes.
I think the Astros had a worse record.
That was the Keuchel game, I believe.
I just remember that as the Colby Rasmus playoffs. Colby Rasmus is a deep cut.
No, he turned it on. Yeah.
But I mean, the Mets went one of the bottom two, if not guaranteed bottom 3 worst record in that playoff.
And definitely one of the worst. I mean, on paper, let's face it, on paper, that team wasn't good. If you
Oh
took that
no,
team, if you
no,
took
that's
that
a
team and put it against this 2022 team, listen, let me rephrase. I'm not gonna say they weren't good, but
no. You don't do what they do on accident.
right,
But on paper, they were not a World Series team.
no,
On paper, they should not have swept the Cubs. But that's gonna prove that comes to the one point you have to make for the playoffs.
oh yeah,
Got to play the fucking games for a reason.
yeah,
You got to play the games for a reason. I don't think no one gave them Mets a chance going into the Cubs series in 2015. I even think about when the Broncos won a ring.
right.
No one gave them a chance against the Steelers. No one gave them a chance against the Patriots. No one gave them a chance against the Panthers. I
Again
mean,
with the
even
Giants, do you
look,
think no one gave them? They were the biggest underdog in Super Bowl history. They were 17-point underdogs going into
I
that
think the
Super Bowl.
Broncos went in, I think 12 and a half, 13 and a half underdogs.
And now the Broncos can't score 12 points. Sorry, that was my one shot. It was my one shot. I had to. It was
They
my
scored
one
22 a
shot.
couple weeks ago.
It was my one shot.
I can promise you I turned that game off in the third quarter.
I was going to talk football today. I wasn't going to do it, but
I just think we don't have time. It's the playoffs, man.
yeah,
I'm even
it,
wearing a Mets hat on the show.
it ain't football season. It's not
You would
football season to me.
you would think by the beanie it's cold. It is a beautiful 82 in Orlando right now.
It is, what is it here? It is 75 here. This is, I mean, you want to talk about pristine baseball postseason weather? This is it. This is what you want. And I was concerned because a couple days ago, I don't know if you follow the weather up here, but
Try not to.
we got the tail end of the storm. So it was raining for 4 days straight. And it was cold.
You're gonna bitch and moan about the tail end of the storm.
I'm not saying we got it worse than you. I'm not saying that.
All right, 65 degrees expected in New York for 8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful day. A couple days ago, I looked at the weather. It said it was gonna be 45. I don't know what the hell happened. But
All right,
let's talk about the actual game now.
Scherzer Darvish.
Yeah,
Or do you? Well, we can backtrack a little bit.
I want to ask you a question here.
What's up?
What do you think is the bigger move for the Mets today for Game 1? Going Scherzer over DeGrom or actually having Starling Marte on the roster? If you didn't know, if you haven't been following Twitter or you've been living under a rock, you've been trying to stay away from social media for whatever reason, Starling Marte is indeed on the roster. Tyler Naquin is not. Cookie Carrasco is not. Trevor Williams is not.
Well, I don't. The pitchers being off the roster makes sense considering they all just threw.
Especially Williams.
Right, and you want the flexibility of a 5-man bench when all season you've basically had a 4-man bench, if not less.
Right.
I know there were times in April they had a 3-man bench because the 13 pitcher rule hadn't gone into effect yet.
Good point.
But I'm gonna say Starling Marte, but I'm gonna base that on Tyler Naquin being off the roster.
Okay.
I make that distinction because I don't think you leave Naquin off the roster if you don't think Marte's 100%.
I agree.
Especially in a series where you're going to get only one lefty. Now, I think if you're looking at a Dodgers series, you don't carry Naquin because there's a good chance you're going to get 3 lefties, 4 lefties right off the bat. I mean, if you go to a Dodgers series, there's a good chance 1, 2, 3 you're getting some combination of Urias, Kershaw, Heaney.
Right.
And the only righty you might face is Gonsolin.
Right.
He's a righty, yeah. But so I mean that it makes sense in the Dodger series, but you're looking at a series where you have Darvish and you have
Musgrove.
So I say Marte because Naquin at least still brings the fact he'll give you respectable at bats, and he's been good against righties, and he's fine defensively, and at worst, he's a decent power threat.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been slugging over. Last I checked, his slugging was still over 500 as a Met. The average has not been there. The on base has not been there. And you can stat line scout all you want, but the power's been there.
He's a threat.
Right. No, I mean, in a series where you're probably going to have to bank on someone just running into one, Naquin's a decent candidate for that.
Oh, yeah.
But and I really don't see a world where the Mets go into this series thinking, yeah, we can run Darren Ruff out there every day in right field.
Yeah,
I mean, he has decent numbers against Snell or against Darvish. He actually has pretty good numbers against Darvish for his career. So it'll be interesting to see if the Mets give him a shot tonight. I don't think you carry Ruff on the roster for the sake of carrying Ruff on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has good numbers against Snell. He probably has good numbers against Hader. So that's
He has good
probably.
numbers against Darvish, Snell, and Hader.
I'm not sure what his numbers are against Darvish. I know
Darvish, he's hitting, I think, 350-ish for his
I know
career.
James McCann has good numbers against Darvish.
He'll be starting tonight.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be Marte.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all seen just how different the lineup looks on day in to day out basis when they're trying to figure it out as they go.
Mm-hmm.
When all year, when you've had the penciled in 1, 2, 3, 4 of Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, we've seen the damage they can do in the first inning. And I think you also have to remember that first inning, they're making your starter go 15, 20, 25 pitches.
Oh my God. It was routinely.
And a lot of that is Marte.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have, because if you're in pitching meetings, you're not worrying about Mark Cannon the same way you're worrying about Starling Marte.
For sure.
So it's been a key piece that's missing for the Mets. I'd even go as far to say I think the Mets win the division with Marte. Still, I mean, both teams went 101 and 61. I think Starling Marte is at the bare minimum a difference of a win for the Mets between when he got hurt and when he came back.
Yeah.
Being now.
I think you can say that it's at least one win.
Oh, yeah, at the minimum. So I say I understood Scherzer game 1. Makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
if DeGrom has that blister thing, okay.
And I think people are kind of overlooking that fact as well. Like, I think this was more than just purely a trying to get cute kind of decision by Buckler. Oh, let's go Scherzer 1, then go DeGrom if they lose.
But it's also so funny that starting Max Scherzer game 1 might be considered getting cute.
Like, the guy is gonna, when he finishes his contract with the Mets, because that's when I'm assuming he's gonna retire. I could be wrong, but I don't know. He's gonna be 40 when that happens. The guy's gonna make his last start with the Mets, whenever that may be, and he can just walk to Cooperstown. This guy is a active Hall of Famer. He's going to be first ballot. Like, how is this?
Yeah,
this isn't getting cute. This is, and if anything, it's kind of riding the hotter hand as well, because DeGrom, because of the blister, has been struggling a little bit. And they even said they need to get in front of it now and start treating it now, because he might have to miss a start. Well, hello, here he is missing the start.
No, I mean, if you really want to get into it,
Scherzer's your backup plan. You're in a really good spot.
I mean, if you really want to start getting, we can get into the pitching now if you want.
Let's do it. We're here.
So here's my qualms with the bandied about idea that the Mets might go Bassett game 2.
Okay.
I'm not sure Bassett and DeGrom are the guys that you can rely on to kind of say, hey, I need you to start today, or hey, we're moving your start up from Sunday to Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
When you consider DeGrom's lack of workload in the last 15 months.
Sure.
And the blister. And then you have to look at Bassett having the largest workload of his career.
Yeah.
I don't think these are guys that you can just kind of. Scherzer's a guy you can tell him you're pitching on 3 days rest. And you can let him know, hey.
On 3 hours of rest, and he'll do it.
Right, and he'll do it. Sure, DeGrom and Bassett are not those guys. That being said, I think you're tempting a lot of fate by setting up for Bassett game 2 to DeGrom game 3.
Okay.
Because again, I'm not sure you can move those guys around as easily as you want to say you can.
Right.
So I mean, just looking at it, a Dodger series would open on October 11th.
Monday? Tuesday?
October 11th.
Okay.
That's Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Pitch DeGrom tomorrow, Saturday. He can probably start Wednesday. The matter of the fact is only your game 1 guy is going to be perfectly rested by Tuesday.
Sure.
So you're going to have to probably, unless you can convince DeGrom or a Bassett to run, literally unless you sweep,
mm-hmm.
You're going to have to start one of Carrasco or Walker game 2. Just because of the way the off days work.
Mm.
So I think if you're setting up for a game, if you're trying to manage for a potential game 1 right now, You got to win what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, strategizing for a game 3 when game 3 is not guaranteed.
It's the opposite of a guarantee.
You want to know how you don't play a fucking game 3? You win games 1 and 2.
Right.
You win game 1. You win Saturday. You are on a fucking jet on Sunday going to Fogo de Chao, and then you head out to LA.
That's right.
But like it's mind-boggling that people think you have to. Well, you might have DeGrom. You might need to throw DeGrom game 3 because you need a winner go home win. Great. You pencil in DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, DeGrom. You lose game 1, you lose game 2. You have 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
What you see the structure of my neck popping out because I'm getting heated.
Yeah.
If you lose games 1 and 2 and DeGrom does not pitch, everyone needs to be fired. Everyone needs to be fired.
I don't disagree.
Having DeGrom and Scherzer for 1 year, what's more than likely just 1 year of DeGrom and Scherzer. If you have that, you win 101 games, and they both are healthy for the playoffs, and they both are not pitching in that playoff. Epler needs to go. Whoever else agree with that decision needs to go. If Buck signs on, Buck needs to go. You cannot have the two. I'll give you Kershaw, Verlander, DeGrom, Scherzer, Mount Rushmore of this generation of pitching. You have two goddamn heads. You have two goddamn heads on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
You have them. You're 1, 2, the year you win 100 games. And if they both
fifth time in team history,
if they both do not pitch in this playoff, heads need to proverbially roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's asinine to think about a world you're setting up DeGrom for game 3, but if you get your ass beat game 1 and 2, guess what? DeGrom's on a nice little Corvette ride to Cobb County to go be an Atlanta Brave. But the man's taking his talents out to go be teammates of Freddie Freeman. Or who knows what? He's going to go be the heir to Adam Wainwright. Who knows? But you can't have one guaranteed year of them. I said it to someone yesterday. What's the purpose of DeGrom, Scherzer if you're not going to use it right?
Right.
We were saying he signed in January, February or December. We were saying in December, if you get yourself to an NLDS, you're starting DeGrom and Scherzer games 1 and 2. Because that is the closest thing since 01 with Johnson and Schilling to a walking 2-game lead.
Yes.
DeGrom and Scherzer are the closest thing you're going to get in baseball to a walking 2-game lead. It's not Wheeler and Nola. It's not Nestor Cortez and Garrett Cole. It's not even Framber Valdez and Justin Verlander. It's DeGrom and Scherzer.
You said it before, and you said it so well. Of this generation of pitchers, you have 2 of the best. You have 2 of the guys on Mount Rushmore of this generation's of pitchers.
I need to turn my fan on. I'm getting fucking heated.
That's like that's like having Nolan Ryan and Pedro Martinez and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start Steve Traxel instead.
It was sweet because I was talking to my dad about it. My dad's like, well, it's not like Chris Bassett's John Maine. Well, if you're comparing, listen. But if you're comparing Chris Bassett to Jacob deGrom, he is John Maine.
I love Chris Bassett. I have so much confidence in having Chris Bassett on my team. The fact that he's the Mets' number 3 starter gives me so much confidence in a postseason run. However, if the choices are Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, or Chris Bassett, and all 3 are healthy, it's not even a conversation. And I get it. You want to line it up so you could have deGrom game 1 for the DS and then Scherzer for game 2. But like you said, something happens. Listen, Max Scherzer could be Max Scherzer tonight. He can go 8 innings, give up 1 run, 2 hits, 13 strikeouts. But guess what? You Darvish
do the same thing.
I don't know if you know this, owns the Mets. So he might only give up 1 run, but Darvish might give up 0.
It's just it's frustrating.
And then if you start DeGrom tomorrow because you lose and now you have it back against the wall, guess what? DeGrom do the same thing. He can give up 1 run, but guess what? Snell throws with his left hand. So
he's own the Mets.
You have these 2 for a reason. You signed Scherzer to be the 2 to DeGrom for a reason. Use it. Now, if we find out the bliss is a problem, shoulders barking, elbows tight,
Right.
whatever, that's fine.
If it's
And
injury, that's
I'm
fine.
sure that the Mets have planned this out already, and I'm sure that whoever started game 2 already knows who's starting game 2. But like, what are we doing? You have
It's
2
just,
Hall of Famers on the team. Start them.
it makes no sense.
The
Well, they're both
there
on the
was
roster.
almost a full speed collision out in right field, and of course, it was the Phillies. I had flashbacks of Cameron and Beltran. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so I think that kind of touches on the pitching side of this a little bit.
I think we need to talk about the playoff roster as well.
I still don't understand how there's even a conversation if DeGrom's going to start tomorrow, but whatever. We do need to talk about the roster a little bit. Marte's on there. Like you said, Naquin is not.
Darren Ruff is on there.
Darren Ruff is on there. Is not. Which, I mean, that's not surprising.
Vientos is not.
Nope.
Alvarez is on there.
He hit the piss out of the ball
the
last couple of games. One. He hit the freaking snot out of the ball. Now, I know it's the Nationals. And I know it was like Carl Edwards Jr., and I couldn't even tell you who the other one was.
Major League pitching is Major League pitching.
And you know what?
Carl Edwards Jr. is just having a good year.
All it takes is one swing of the bat to get your shit right. So if it happens against Carl Edwards Jr., if it happens against whoever, if it happens against me, guess what? All it takes is one swing. And guess what? In that one swing, it went 453 feet and was like 113 miles off the bat. Man, that's all it takes. And, you know, it's another power threat. With all due respect to Tyler Naquin, I think Alvarez is probably a better power threat than Naquin.
I'm going to cut you off for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Kay and A-Rod are calling the Cardinals game.
That's why I have it on mute.
Michael Kay asked A-Rod about Tommy Edman's 6.3 WAR.
Okay.
And A-Rod said he's a ball player for sure. It's somehow one of the smartest things A-Rod's ever said.
I confirm.
He is indeed a baseball player. A really good
baseball.
One.
He does the thing. Speaking of roster, I on a roster thing that's not the Mets. Did you see who made the Seattle Mariners postseason roster?
He did, yeah. Kelnick did. But
and not only that, he's starting today.
Well, Haniger got hurt 2 days ago.
He's their starting left fielder today. I thought there was a shot he might
He's
make
still got
roster,
a lot of raw power.
But I didn't think he was gonna be starting.
I don't think he would have made it if Haniger hadn't gotten hurt.
Maybe.
But Haniger has neck issues.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign for coming back anytime soon.
Probably won't.
Probably be at least till like an ALCS if Seattle can get there.
Yeah.
But in actual current Met news and not former Met news.
Yeah.
The biggest question mark when I was looking at things was a lack of like a true committed long man.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be Carrasco, considering he's done it in the playoffs before, whether it be Williams, even though he is. But they haven't used McGill as a long man yet.
Yeah.
You know, Peterson's gotten, I think, 2 innings before. I think 2 innings, 2 1/3 is his high water mark out of the pen.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's gone a couple innings once.
Right. Yeah, he's gone, I think, 6 outs before.
Yeah.
It's just it's curious. It's curious because we saw Bassett go 2 2/3 the other day.
Yeah.
And you had to make a quick hook.
Yeah. So
if Bassett can only get you 3 against the Padres in game 2, and you're trying to still save your pen for game 3, are you asking David Peterson to get you, from the 4th to the 7th?
You might have to. Someone's going to have to play some hero ball.
That's I think you're going to end up having to ask for some hero ball out of your pen.
Yeah.
Unless you can unless you can do what they did the other night where Trevor May gives you 2, then maybe you go to Michael Givens for 5 outs.
Yeah.
Then you ask for 4 out of Joely.
If your back's against the wall and your starter can only go a couple innings, it's becoming a Johnny All-Staff day, and everyone's available. Everyone's going as deep as they can. It's a postseason. It's
my other concern about
take off the
Bassett in
training
game
wheels.
2, as this goes into the rosters, you don't really have a true long man who has shown he can come out of the pen and get you 3-4 innings.
Yeah.
Which is why I would have stayed away from Williams the other day.
Yeah, that was a little. It was a little confusing.
I would have found a way to get Jose Budo on the roster.
Yeah.
You know, like if you knew you weren't carrying Naquin, maybe you IL Naquin.
Right.
And you get Budo up to start. Or you get whoever up to start.
Someone.
But I mean, as a whole, there's not. I mean, we knew Terrence Gore was making the roster.
Yeah.
You know, Alvarez being on it is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, there's not really many question marks. You know, you're happy that Givens is back. I think he can. I just think looking at this roster as a whole, you're looking for guys with playoff experience, which I think is probably why they took Ruff as a big piece of why they took Ruff.
Probably.
So when you're looking at this lineup as a whole, Lindor has experience, Escobar has experience, Canna has experience, Marte has some, but really like your main contributors, Nemo doesn't have much. Nemo has none.
Nemo has none.
Then,
he was on the Mets in 2016, but he wasn't on the roster.
Right.
Postseason roster.
McNeil is none.
Right.
Alonso is none. You know, McCann has some, but I don't know what you're asking out of James McCann. So then you're going to have a young guy like Alvarez.
That's another thing about the whole. I hate to go back to this, the DeGrom Scherzer thing. They have the most experience. Scherzer's he's got a full season's worth of postseason starts probably.
What's Chris Bassett's playoff experience?
I can't imagine it's very much. I think he only made
He's got
2 starts. One with Chicago, one with Oakland is my guess.
Let's see. Postseason game logs.
We know DeGrom's done it. We know Scherzer's done it.
He's got 11 innings at 4 earned.
Which is fine.
It's a 3.27 ERA.
Yeah, you'll take that. Like,
well,
I mean, that's
11 innings, 15 hits.
Yeah, you don't want the 15
9
hits.
Ks. But I mean, I think ultimately in the end, the roster is about. I mean, it's fine. I think I would have been more worried about Vientos on the roster than an Alvarez.
Yeah.
Just seeing that Vientos hasn't had that moment yet where you're looking like, all right, that's what he's here to do.
Yeah.
Whereas we saw Alvarez hit the piss out of the ball twice, get 2 extra base hits.
He showed a good eye.
Got a good eye at the plate. I mean, I think he gets a little angsty when it gets to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when he gets to like 3-2, 2-2 counts, he gets angsty because he's looking for the get me over pitch he's looking for a hitter's pitch because you don't want to fall behind or walk him. But I think that book on him is probably already out. I mean, that's the other thing about AAA and AA this year is there's a lot more tape than ever before.
For sure.
So guys know he's looking for that hitter's pitch on a 2-2 count so I can bury one in the dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've seen him. I mean, he struck out on a couple of those in Atlanta. We've seen him strike out in a couple of those in general.
Mm-hmm. But overall, I think his eyes what kind of set him apart from Vientos besides the overall just like raw hitting tools.
Well, I think part
Vientos
of it's also
hasn't shown that great of an eye.
Vientos also has had a larger sample size at the major league level so far, and Alvarez has still produced more.
Yeah.
And I think that's something else you have to factor in.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, I think it's the right decision.
I couldn't agree more.
It might be a risky one, but it's the correct one.
Yeah.
I mean, dude only has 12 at bats, and I think 3 extra base hits.
Yeah, and it's like I said the other day. You brought him up to hit. Let him hit.
Exactly.
I feel like you weren't going to call him up in the biggest series of the decade without saying, you know what, if we're going to give you a chance here, we're giving you a chance in the postseason. I respect the move. I like the move. We'll see how it pans off. So I say we kind of wrap it up a little bit here. Let's go with, you want to do a prediction for tonight or for the overall series?
Overall series.
All right,
do a prediction of the series and a series
and we'll do X factor for the series and prediction for the series.
Okay. I'm going to say the Mets in 2.
Okay.
I think they end up going with DeGrom in game 2. And you know what, man? If there's 1-2 to put all your money on, it's DeGrom Scherzer.
It didn't work out the first time, but I
Nah,
I
this
keep
is
the faith in
different,
those
man.
two.
This is different.
Yeah.
You know, Atlanta was win or go home. This is win or go home.
With all due respect to the Padres, they're not the Braves.
No.
And it's in the Citi Field.
Right. And it's the playoffs, man.
Yeah.
This is different.
Animal.
I'm gonna go Mets in 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna say your X factor for the series is David Peterson.
I like it.
I'm gonna say David Peterson because he has good numbers against Soto, and Peterson can effectively bring the combination that gets Soto out. Jam him early with heat in. We've seen Peterson when he's amped up go as high as 99, and then soft away. He's got that slider that breaks away from lefties. I'm saying it's David Peterson. I mean, obviously the easy answer, Starling Marte, but I like to get creative. You know me with my hot takes.
For sure.
So Mets in 2, David Peterson's my X factor.
To be different, I'm going to go Mets in 3. I'm going to be an anxious mess on Sunday. If that's the case, I'm going to be an anxious mess all 3 games. Who the hell am I kidding?
At least the Broncos don't play Sunday. Not like I'd watch.
You want to watch the Giants and Packers on Sunday at 9:30 in Wembley?
No.
All right. All right. So I'm going to go Mets in 3. I hope it's Mets in 2, but I'm going to go Mets in 3 just, again, to be different. And I'm going to say, I'll start with the theme of X Factor being a pitcher. I'm going to go Drew Smith. I'm going to go our guy, Drew Smith. He's been my guy all year. I feel like if they're going to go with a righty to kind of neutralize the lefties with Juan Soto, I think he's the guy. And again, I mean, he's been my guy all year. It's been
Drew Smith season. Earlier in the year when we did our list of dudes,
he's a dude, and he's gonna show that he's a fucking dude. He's a dude. He's our guy. But I mean, hey, I'm excited for the postseason. I'm excited that Starling Marte is back. I'm excited for guys like Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil to get their first taste of postseason action.
Got the jitters, man. I got the jitters.
I'm going to be there. I don't know if I said it before. I'm going to be at the game today. And if I swear to God, if I hear trumpets, if the trumpets go off today, Citi Field might burn to the ground.
I got a second X factor for you.
Go for it.
Seth Lugo.
Yeah.
Good career numbers against Soto. Great against lefties this year. He's been waiting for this moment. You just think about the guys who came up in 16. Think about Nimmo. Think about Lugo. They got close in 19. They're ready.
All right.
As always, Antonio Slater, Jack Ramsey.
That's
subscribe,
my line.
Follow LFGM.
Let's fucking go.